This man was trying to sell enslaved people and ended up becoming enslaved himself. This is Ayuba Suleiman Diallo. He was born in the 1700s in what is now called Senegal in West Africa. He came from a very prominent family. His family was highly engaged in religious affairs and politics. In 1730, he was trying to buy supplies and sell enslaved people to the Royal African Company, a British trading company, something that he had done many times before. People at the Royal African Company ended up kidnapping him and his translator and selling them into bondage. He managed to convince the captain of his royal status because he had sold enslaved people to him before. By the time the captain relayed the message to his family to pay the ransom, they were halfway across the Atlantic and it was too late. The ship ended up docking in Maryland, and he ended up being taken to Annapolis, where he was sold and made to work on a tobacco farm. But this did not go well. He was seen as unfit to work in a field. Remember, he was royalty and he wasn't used to back-breaking labor. Eventually, he did try to run away, but he was caught and he was put in jail. He was in jail. They were trying to find his rationale for running away, but they didn't understand him because he didn't speak English. Eventually, he found a lawyer, Thomas Blewett, who was able to find a Wolof translator who was able to interpret what Ayuba was saying. The lawyer asked him to write down everything he was trying to say, and he wrote it in Arabic. Now remember, his family was very prominent in Islamic religious and political circles. Now eventually the letter that he wrote reached the desk of James Oglethorpe, the owner of the Royal African Company. And for some reason, he couldn't believe that this happened. Side note, you literally trade people for a living. And he went to the University of Oxford to have it authenticated. And he ended up purchasing Ayuba's freedom for 45 pounds. That's not where the story ends. Ayuba ended up going to England and his lawyer came with him. Now at this point, Ayuba was just the property of the Royal African Company. And that's essentially where they sent him after they purchased him, to their office, like a package being sent to your job. Now Ayuba got wind that they were gonna sell him again, this time to African traders. He ended up contacting his lawyer. His lawyer was like, "It's okay, I got this." His lawyer took him to his home and gave him the reassurance that, hey, if I sell you, I'll tell you first. In 1734, he was able to return to Gambia. When he got there, he realized his village had been ravaged by war. His father had died and one of his wives had remarried. But because he had status in the area, he was able to continue his life and lifestyle that he had prior to being enslaved himself, including enslaving other people. In 1736, he was captured by the French for his allegiances to England, and for 2 years, he asked England for help to get him out of French prison, and they turned him down every time. And eventually in 1773, he died, and his memoir can be read in French and in English.